Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up. My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cold. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Hello everyone and welcome to the grand finale here at the DTM. We're at the Hockenheim ring and it is the final fight between Marco Wittmann and Eduardo Mortara. So Marco, quite frankly, you're 14 points ahead of Edo and you're also starting the qualifying ahead of Edo in P4. So quite frankly, how are your nerves at the moment? Are you pretty confident?
Yeah, I mean, everything is good. I mean, qualifying was good for us. P4 is a pretty good starting position. Now it's important to have a good start, a good race, score a lot of points, and then we see how it ends up.
And now Edo, asking you, you're starting in P8 in qualifying. How are your nerves?
I'm not anymore, to be honest with you. We had already a nightmare start of the weekend with so many problems. I went into qualifying without having like any practice and with the car. So in the end, I think from where we were coming from, P8 is not so bad. For sure, you know, we would like, you know, to be a little bit more in front. But yeah, we could see that, you know, BMW was very strong. We just hope that, you know, in the race it's going to be a bit better for us.
All right, well, it's going to be a tough fight. Best of luck to both of you. But before we start racing here, let's have a look back at Budapest.
It seemed as if he would be heading home from Budapest as the winner of the weekend. BMW driver Marco Wittmann. After 7th place in race 1, he came 4th in race 2. His margin in the drive. It seemed as if he would be heading home from Budapest as the winner of the weekend. BMW driver Marco Wittmann. After 7th place in race 1, he came 4th in race 2. His margin in the driver's standing increased to 26 points, but reality was different. Late on Sunday evening, the news came in, Wittmann disqualified.
The skid pad, that's a plank under the car, was too small. Normally it's allowed to have 6 millimeters, but it was less, and then we had to exclude them.
For Eduardo Mortara, this was a lucky break. In spite of starting from pole position, he was pointless in race 2 after this disastrous start and this maneuver against Wittmann. Green was the victim, a setback.
For us, it was definitely very, very disappointing to lose basically our two best place cars in the championship before the first corner.
The day before, he was the spearhead as the brand from Ingolstadt dominated. Mortara scored his 4th win of the season ahead of 5 more Audis. In race 2, the brand with the 4 rings continued to dominate, a 1-2 with Ekstrom ahead of Tombe. Thus, he is bowing out of the season with a win. Instead of Hockenheim, he'll be competing in the World Rallycross Championship.
I've been entertaining the people maybe too much sometimes this year, and to finish on a high with a boring race is quite nice.
Mercedes had another poor performance. 4th in the championship, Robert Wickens put his car in the wrong starting grid position prior to race 2. Like at the Nürburgring, he only scored 2 points in Hungary. So much for his title chances.
Mathematically taken out of the championship for such a stupid thing. I mean, honestly, I'm embarrassed to even show my face.
Jamie Green, 3rd in the championship, also only has mathematical chances. However, Wittmann is only 14 points ahead of Mortara prior to the finale at Hockenheim.
And down there on track with Verena right now is former champion Pascal Wehrlein.
And I'm here with Pascal Wehrlein. Now, Pascal, obviously now you're in Formula One, but last year you were in the DTM and you snatched the title. Do you still remember what it felt like and how nervous you were?
Yes, of course. I have great memories from last year and of course from the last event because we were fighting for the title and then winning the title in the second last race was something really special, and it's something you will never forget.
I bet. Now it's going to be a very, very tough fight between Marco Wittmann and Eduardo Mortara. What is your bet? Who do you think is going to snatch this title?
Yeah, I think at the moment Marco looks like in a better position than Eduardo because he's starting in front of him and he's even in front in the championship, just a few points, but still Eduardo has to risk a lot and overtake him and try to catch up in the championship.
Definitely going to be exciting. So enjoy the weekend here at the Hockenheim Ring, and now to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. Pascal Wehrlein then, champion last time around. Who will it be this time? Well, this weekend is about to unfold as we look at the grid for race number 1. Antonio Felix da Costa and Miguel Molina then share the front row of the grid. To row 2, it's Tom Blomqvist, and then the charger in the championship, Marco Wittmann, is going from P4. Maxime Martin and Mike Rockenfeller are on row 3 of the grid. As we head to the next row, we find Augusto Farfus, and the man that's chasing Wittmann in the championship, Eduardo Mortara, only going from P8. Timo Glock is P9 and Nico Muller is P10. To the next row of the grid, where we find Rennie Rast, who's in for the rally crossing Matthias Ekström, and Paul de Resta alongside him. Row 7 sees an all-British lineup of Gary Paffett and Jamie Green, who still mathematically could take the championship. It'll be hard, though. Timo Scheider and Maximilian Goertz are on the 8th row of the grid. And then we find Christian Vittoris and Felix Rosenqvist, the two Mercedes-Benz drivers together there, P17 and P18, with Bruno Spengler and Robert Wickens occupying the 10th row of the grid. To the 11th, where we find Adrien Tombe and Daniel Juncker-Deyer, before the grid is rounded up with Martin Tomczyk and Lucas Al. Verena is back down there on the grid with the head of BMW, Jens Marquardt.
BMW, we've got 6 of them in the top 10, and we've got Marco in P4, way ahead of Edo. So in other words, it's looking really, really good. But it is the final weekend. Are you going to tell me again that you're all confident and all calm?
I am definitely confident, but I'm not calm. This I can admit to you today. No, I mean, I'm definitely confident. We did a really strong qualifying today. We've got 6 cars in the top 10. We've got Marco in a very good position. Antonio did a fantastic job, and still 40 minutes, complete concentration. First corner is going to be difficult, so just hope that our guys, as they always did this year, keep their head cool, keep it smart, and then we'll see.
And maybe even snatch the title already today?
Well, let's look at the race, concentrate on a good race, and see what the outcome is.
All right then. Well, best of luck, Jens Marquardt. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. That is the most nervous, the most tension I have seen across the face of Jens Marquardt for the entire 2016 season. Alongside me from the motorsportarchive.com is Leo Gorman. Do you not agree with that? He looked really tense today.
Do you think it's coming right down to the wire, Dave?
We look at Mike Rockenfeller, who's going from P6. Now, interestingly, of course, there is the Drivers' Championship. There's also the Teams' Championship as well. And Mike Rockenfeller has changed teams for this weekend. He is driving for the ABD team. Audi Sport Team, ABD Sportsline are leading at the moment in the Teams' Championship. But Mike moves from Phoenix to ABD for this weekend as we look at P5. Maxime Martin, the BMW M4 DTM driver. Maxime Martin then, who drives under number 36. Who has had a couple of P3 podiums this year, but has not had a race win. Oh, we'd love to round off the 2016 season with a win. And is it possible from there? Sure thing it is from P5. Look at the amount of people down there on the grid. This final round of DTM for 2016, the tension has really been driven all the way through the season, and we reached the final round with the championship being contested by Marco Wittmann, this man, Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green. But it's Marco Wittmann who has qualified better. He will be going from P4 on the grid, and he has a slender margin in the points on 176. So Marco Wittmann then has put himself in the best possible position, and when Verena interviewed him, he certainly looked pretty cool. In fact, as cool as a cucumber. Let's see what he can do ahead of race 1. enveloped by the trees. It is the Hockenheim ring, this 4.574 kilometer circuit that sees Antonio Felix da Costa on pole position for race 17, bowing out of his DTM career on a high as these two races across this weekend, the last races for Antonio Felix da Costa in DTM. Also true of Martin Tomczyk, who actually is right at the other end of the grid on P23. You can still see traces of the old circuit through the trees there as we look down on the grid now, as the massive amount of people down there on the grid taking in the excitement and the atmosphere ahead of the start of race number 1. Tom Blomqvist then, a very, very good qualifying from him, and he goes from P3 on the grid, just ahead of Marco Wittmann, where I'm sure he won't defend his position too much if Marco needs to come past. Let's see. So, tyres going on to the cars, final stages of preparation before the race gets underway. For Marco Wittmann to have that advantage on Blomqvist there, he's going to be in, he's going to be in a good position. Mercedes-Benz, a very disappointing qualifying. Didn't expect it, if I'm honest. Let's find out what the answers are with Uli Fritz, who's with Verena now.
Well, I'm definitely going to try to find out. Uli Fritz, last race weekend of the season. I mean, I guess you would have preferred to have a better qualifying than this one today. Your best Mercedes is in P12. What were you struggling with, and how painful is it?
Yeah, I mean, really disappointing. We thought we could deliver more, but yeah, we are struggling with overall performance, but mainly also still compared to BMW, we're still more than 12.5 kilo heavier, so that contributes to quite big margin. So it's difficult here, but yeah, we'll try to make it better in the race and certainly try to push tomorrow for the race.
All right, thank you very much, Uli Fritz. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Well, he kind of explained, didn't he? It's a weight issue is part of it, but that's not the only part of it. But as he said, they'll try and do the very best they can in the race today. But of course, in the slightly longer race tomorrow, where they have the advantage of a mandatory pit stop, then it might be just a little bit easier for strategy to play a part. Okay, nice heli shot of the Hockenheim circuit then. Just ahead of race number 1. In the Drivers' Championship then, 176 points, plays 162 for Eduardo Mortara. Mathematically, Jamie Green on 137 could still take the championship, but it would need a DNF from the top 2 in the championship at the moment. For Audi, let's hear from Dieter Gas now.
So obviously it's all about the title, we all know that, and I bet Edo Mortara is under a lot of pressure. He's starting in P8, so behind Wittmann, and he's also 1500ths slower than Wittmann, which doesn't sound that much, but it is a lot in the DTM. So what do you think can we see today in the race from Edo?
Yeah, first of all, we don't worry too much about the gaps in the qualifying now. We are on the grid. We're not so far away from Marco Wittmann. And Edo, I think he is used to deal with the pressure he has. And he has a clear mission, which is maximum attack. And I think that's what we want to see from him.
But may I admit, he seemed a bit nervous this morning.
Edo did seem a bit nervous this morning. Yes, I had the same impression. I think it's normal. But I'm sure he will perform now.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much, and back to you.
It's a very fair point you make, Verena. And alongside me, Leo Gorman, I thought all day today, we sat near to Edo Mortara at breakfast, and he looked like a man with the weight of everything on his shoulders.
The championship is coming down to him, really, isn't it? And technically, one might say that Jamie Green, as we've noted earlier on, has a mathematical chance of still being in this championship. Realistically, it's coming down to Edo.
Yes.
And it's the big fight. He's the one who has to catch Marco Wittmann. Marco, he's a lot more relaxed. He's got a 14-point lead.
Look, just sorry to interrupt you. Just look at the difference as we split the screen. Edo to your left, Marco. All right, the visor is down. But you can almost see the tension in Edo Mortara's eyes, can't you?
Absolutely, and earlier on there was Pascal Wehrlein, the reigning DTM champion,
yes,
now Formula 1 driver with MAN and Mercedes. He was interviewed on the grid, and he mentioned that Edo has to be aggressive going on the first lap, going into turn 1, and that the advantage is with Marco because he's got 4 positions ahead of him.
Well, you're absolutely right. As the cars roar off then on their formation lap, I have to say our two trophy girls down there don't look terribly enamoured about standing there with the trophy, which, of course, Edo Mortara and Marco Wittmann are hoping to glean away from those hands. Right, cars through turn 1 to turn 2 now. Very nervous disposition. If we thought Edo Mortara was nervous, nothing in comparison to those two down there. Heavens.
I hope they got paid well for that.
It's the grid once again for you. Antonio Felix da Costa, Molina, then it's Blomqvist, Wittmann, Martin, Rockenfeller, Augusto Farfus, P7, Eduardo Mortara, then P8. So the top 8 positions, the first 4 rows of the grid on screen. And here come the next 4. Timo Glock, Nico Müller, René Rast then, who, as I mentioned, is in for Matthias Ekström, who's off rallycrossing. Then it is Paul de Resta, Gary Paffett, Jamie Green. Then it's Timo Scheider, Maximilian Goertz, Christian Vittoris, Felix Rosenquist, Bruno Spengler, Robert Wickens, Adrian Tombe, Daniel Juncadea, Martin Tomczyk, and Lucas Auer.
And without putting too fine a point on it, Dave, this race, it's going to be very much Audi versus BMW. Mercedes, unfortunately, through various reasons, whether it be just lack of setup, lack of straight line speed, additional weight that they've garnered over the year, they're not really in play in race 1 here this weekend. But it will be interesting to see if they can infiltrate the points at least.
Well, we will see. The best placed Mercedes-Benz driver is Paul de Resta.
Down in P12.
I know. It is a worry for Uli Fritz, as he said so, really, in his conversation with Verena. It certainly hasn't been the year that they had last year, and of course, the victorious Mercedes driver last year, interviewed by Verena just a few moments ago, Pascal Wehrlein, who's gone on to have a fantastic career with Formula 1, which proves just how important DTM is. And Felix Rosenquist's car there is Bruno Spengler, and Robert Wickens, who up until Hungary was in with a chance for the championship, then a error that he's very embarrassed by. Saw him not line up in the correct grid position, and that saw his championship chances go awry. Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
Marco Wittmann lined up in his grid box, made sure it's pinpoint accurate. Same too for Eduardo Mortara now.
Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
Look at the tension on the face of hand, Jürgen Abt and Dieter Gas in the Audi garages. So too for Jens Marquardt with BMW, and Uli Fritz just hoping for the best from Mercedes-Benz.
Last on the grid.
We split the screen as the gladiators are about to go.
Green flag being waved.
Can show you where they are on the grid. Here come the lights. It's race 1. It's almost a sprint race in comparison to the longer race tomorrow, but it could be so pivotal. As Let's Go Racing, good start from Antonio Felix da Costa, but a brilliant start from Miguel Molina as well.
Very good start by Tom Blomqvist as he edges his way into third in the grid, nearly gets second, but Molina is the one who holds the lead as they exit turn 1.
Edo Mortara also trying to make a charge. He's right alongside Augusto Farfus now. Big lockout comes from Timo Glock. Now Eduardo Mortara's on the inside for the next turn, but does get held up by Augusto Farfus. He's trying to make moves. Molina is leading from Antonio Felix da Costa.
Wittmann P4, but he's got Rocky on his tail. They're going to battle for that 4th position as they edge into the turn 5 hairpin.
Mortara made 1 from the start. He's going to make 2 now if he can go by Augusto Farfus, but he's on the outside for the hairpin. Timo Glock diving up the inside against Augusto Farfus. That means Mortara goes further back. Jamie Green out wide. So too Adrian Tombe.
And Blomqvist opened the door in a very big fashion as they went into the hairpin. Wittmann now P3 as Molina and da Costa continue to fight hard for the lead. It's Glock and Mortara going side by side as they come through Mercedes. Mortara holds on now as they edge into the stadium section. Molina still ahead of da Costa.
So Eduardo Mortara on the live team radio then. He's now got to chase down once again Augusto Farfus. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara now in the stadium section of the circuit here at Hockenheim. He is the one with lots and lots of work to do. He has got Mike Rockenfeller up ahead and Timo Glock charging up the inside. So apologies for any of Eduardo Mortara's language on the team radio. But it's not helping him, is it? Timo Glock being very, very aggressive there. Of course, Timo's in his own race. DRS is enabled now.
And it's not quite worked out for Mortara. He actually initially got a good start, was running 6th early on that.
DRS enabled.
He was running 6th early on that first lap, but that contretemps, shall we say, with Glock has actually pushed him back down to 8th position. Here we go.
Look at that move from Timo Glock. He dived up the inside of Eduardo Mortara. Now, Mortara has often preferred the outside line, going high up on the banking there on the turn, and Dieter Gas not looking very happy about that either.
But that move started in several corners before that. They were going side by side and swapping positions on several occasions there as Molina continues to lead by ahead of Da Costa. And Glock's getting very, very fighty today, isn't he?
He's feisty, isn't he? There was a bit of a love tap on the back of the Augusto Farfus car. So at the moment then the order is Molina, Da Costa, Wittmann. Wittmann then up to P3, as you say. Not too much of a defence from Tom Blomqvist as Marco Wittmann scythed by to take up that P3 place. And Eduardo Mortara, the man that's got to do the chasing, is now P8. So we're on board with Eduardo Mortara now. The very feisty Timo Glock up ahead of him. Timo Glock going through then on the third from last corner on the last lap around. And Eduardo Mortara just needs to remain calm, cool and collected, really, doesn't he? But he's got a lot of cars ahead of him that he really needs to get on terms with and also get past. And that's going to be a big ask, because already jolly near 4 minutes of the race done and dusted. It's only the opening couple of laps as Molina now crosses the timing line to extend his lead from 7/10 by a further 10th up to 8/10 now over Antonio Felix da Costa, who's running P2.
Without putting too fine a point on it, Dave, Mortara needs to start making moves. He needs to start making it now.
Well, not quite hearing exactly what Edo Mortara said then on the radio.
I think he referred to it being pushed off the track by Glock. And maybe so, maybe not. But Mortara needs to put that to one side.
To Stewart already.
Mortara needs to put that to one side and fight for this race.
On the main straight, before he was.
He's thinking too much about it, Dave. He needs to just concentrate on what's happening. And
to be fair, it's history now. It's happened, hasn't it? So
absolutely.
Just get on with it. So Eduardo Mortara then being almost pushed through the hairpin by René Rast, who's the driver that sits right behind him. So Molina, of course, Audi driver, leading the race. There is Eduardo Mortara, still not really encroaching on Timo Glock at the moment.
This race is going to, it sounds like a silly thing to say because he's leading the race, but this will, be pinched by what Molina does, because he's got Da Costa behind him, the BMW. He's got Wittmann behind in 3rd place in the BMW, Blomqvist 4th place in the BMW. He needs to keep those BMWs behind him if Mortara is to have any chance of making this championship go into tomorrow.
Well, the way things are at the moment, Wittmann would be champion. There is Eduardo Mortara then, but that's only if things stay the way they do in this race. And a lot can happen now over the remaining 35 minutes. There is Eduardo Mortara. And Antonio Felix da Costa just taking a look at the inside of Molina, but not close enough to be able to do anything about it, really. So it's Molina, Antonio Felix da Costa P2, then it's Marco Wittmann P3, Tom Blomqvist P4, then it's Mike Rockefeller, Augusto Farfus before we find Timo Glock, and then it's this man, Eduardo Mortara, with the DRS wing down. So DRS active.
Save DRS if you can.
Now, the point being made there by his engineer is save DRS where you can, because it might be absolutely crucial for him to have DRS come the end of the race. It's not free to use DRS, is it, Lee? You only have a certain amount of DRS usages across the course of the race, and therefore, to try and take advantage of the benefit that DRS gives you, sometimes it pays just to eke out the uses of them. This was the start then. It was a good start by Antonio Felix da Costa initially, but a better one from Molina.
Yeah, Molina just got an absolutely flying start off the grid, and another flying start. Some of the guys who went clean off the circuit got a bit. And
they can use the momentum, can't they?
Gets a little bit airborne there. I believe that was Paffett who actually went flying over the curbs somewhat. But, a fantastic start by Molina, and it just edged him ahead of Da Costa as they came through turn 1 and gave the Audi man the lead ahead of the BMW trio.
There's the start reaction on screen for you. And
not the it wasn't the finest starts by Mortara, judging by the graphic, but as you can see, the BMWs of Blomqvist, Wittmann, Martin really had very quick reactions off the line.
Right, let's get back to the race live now. Molina is really under pressure from Antonio Felix da Costa, who goes to the outside. Oh, this is in replay, of course. It's the replay of the start earlier on, and that was where Timo Glock dived up the inside. Jamie Green going off really, really wide.
And that was where Mortara dropped from the 6th place down to 8th because he was on the outside of both of them.
And that was Marco Wittmann's very difficult overtake, wasn't it?
And I think Mortara's finally got into the tail of...
Well, he's certainly got into the tail of him, but can he make it stick? This is where he needs the traction out of the hairpin. Not able to do it, so he's going to have to chase Timo Glock through the next section of corners, isn't he?
Mortara's going to have to get aggressive if he wants to take this championship forward. He needs to get tough, and that means he may have to take risks that he doesn't want to take.
Championship prediction on screen for you, Wittmann. If it stays the way it is, 191. Mortara 166, Green 137. That's if it stays the way it is at the moment, because Jamie Green, of course, running down there in P15, is out of the points. Eduardo Mortara, though, is only in P8, so he's got to dispose of the BMW of Timo Glock ahead of him, and the way Timo Glock came past him, Timo Glock ain't for being chased down at the moment, is he? So Eduardo Mortara with a lot of work to do. Molina is leading with 7/10 over Antonio Felix da Costa, who's looking more lively now. And there is Eduardo Mortara doing everything he can, but is it going to be enough? We've still got 31 minutes of the race still to come, but you know, he needs to be sitting about it now rather than later on, doesn't he? Because the rest of the pack are getting away.
Mortara's already fallen 5.5 seconds behind the leading man. And yes, the pack is still very, very, very close together. But, I mean, look at Mortara. He's dropped, what, 5/6 of a second as they come down to Parabolica. It's not enough. He's too far behind Glock coming in there to make any kind of real move. Da Costa, fastest lap of the race on lap 5 at 1:34.5. He's still just behind Miguel Molina, 0.7 of a second behind the leader, Wittmann, 1 second behind the second place man.
Well, Antonio Felix da Costa was a lot closer to that Molina car going through the hairpin, that's for sure. He's certainly king of the late breakers going into the hairpin, but there we follow once again the fortunes of Eduardo Mortara, who's currently running in P8. You can just see him into, and you can see the pace advantage that Timo Glock has got over them. And of course, Timo Glock has got Augusto Farfus, another BMW driver ahead of him. And, you know, in the BMW camp, it's all looking pretty good for Marco Wittmann with respect, isn't it? Because he's got a huge number of BMWs between himself and his championship chaser, Eduardo Mortara. And there is that man, center screen right now, into the Südkurve and around the final turn, heading towards the timing line as Molina extends his margin by a huge margin on that lap. It's 1.6 seconds now over Antonio Felix da Costa. He's really found some pace from somewhere.
Da Costa actually dropped an entire second alone in that final sector.
Wow.
So yeah, he's lost a bit of time, dropped into the 1:35s, and
gap to the front is 0.707. Improvement sector 1. We have only DRS left for 7 laps after this. This means if you are in a position to save it and you feel confident, then do it or attack.
There.
I would raise something for you.
So Wittmann goes through. There you can see Antonio Felix da Costa and Marco Wittmann absolutely side by side until Marco Wittmann does get his nose in front. So now he's up to P2.
I was going to actually say at the end of that lap before the team radio came on, is da Costa going to drop back a little bit to allow Wittmann?
Well, I think you've answered that question, haven't you?
It's, you know, I mean, da Costa doesn't just drop a second in a sector. But you know what? This is a team sport. It is a team game. Wittmann's there for the championship. He's going for his second championship, and there we see the change of position into the hairpin.
Well, if it stays like this, it's enough.
Yes.
It's enough for Marco Wittmann to take it. Because we're taking...
I think da Costa didn't exactly make it overly easy.
So, you know, when you take in the number of race wins and everything else, and even now if Rocky were to really, really drop back and let everyone play into the hands of Eduardo Mortara, Mortara has got to get past at least one more BMW. Oh, this is so, so tight. So tight. And unfortunately, looking at it the way we are looking at it at the moment, it just doesn't look like Edo's got the pace in the car.
I don't think he does. He's not getting out of the 1 minute 35 stage, where as in the early laps, the top front runners were running mid 34s, and they've just about been escaping away from the pack. Whereas Mortara in the pack as a really condensed area coming into the hairpin. I think he's not close enough to Glock to even make a move for 7th place at the moment. It's not enough. And hopefully Mortara will just maybe get a little bit of speed through the race. I think one manufacturer, should we say, who are really hoping for a little extra burst of speed is Mercedes.
What we need is for Mike Rockenfeller to slow up the 2 BMWs behind him so that Edo then gets into DRS. Now, he hasn't got unlimited use of DRS, but the only way he's going to be able to find the pace to overtake Glock and Farfus is by using DRS, but he's got to be within the window, and at the moment he isn't. So he needs Rocky to back them up.
Yeah, Mortara also, it's a mixture of getting Rocky to maybe compress the pack, but he also just needs to actually just get closer to Glock and Farfus in front and really make the move when he is there, because...
Only 6 laps left, yes, 6 laps left.
So Mike Rockenfeller has got 6 laps of DRS left to run over the remaining 27 minutes of the race. There is Marco Wittmann then now in P2.
Mortara is 6/10 behind Glock as it stands at the moment. DRS, it's an effective tool to make overtakes, to really close in, but 6/10 is too much of a gap that in DTM for DRS to effectively work. He needs to be 2/10, 3/10 behind if he's going to make that dive, and it's not there yet for Mortara.
Championship prediction on screen. If it stays the way it is, as Timo Glock just nerfs into the back of Augusto Farfus, it would be Wittmann on 194, Mortara on 166, and Jamie Green on 137, who's academic as he's out of the points at the moment. So Mortara, for my money, is getting edging just a little bit closer, and I think part of the reason for that is there's this almost inter-BMW battle going on between Augusto Farfus and Timo Glock, which is not being helped, to be fair, by Mike Rockenfeller, who's playing no part in it whatsoever, but Mortara is getting closer now.
I'll tell you something, guys in the BMW guard, you're looking at this battle between Glock and Farfus, and they're saying, boys, be careful, don't be silly.
Well, we were on board with Eduardo Mortara then as he closes to within a car's length of Timo Glock, but it's all very well getting on terms with them. He's got to find a way past. And he's going to have to really, really be aggressive. Almost as aggressive as Timo Glock was in getting past him, I would suggest.
Lost some meters, maybe you can save DRS the next lap if no overtaking.
So Rocky being advised on how best to economise on his DRS usage. Mike Rockenfeller running currently in P5. And now Eduardo Mortara closes up onto the back of Timo Glock. So this is going to get very, very exciting and feisty between these two. What Eduardo Mortara has got in terms of protection behind him is, of course, Rennie Rast, who's in for Matthias Ekström. And now with the DRS wing down on both of the cars. So basically the advantage Eduardo Mortara has with DRS. And certainly late braking right onto the back of Timo Glock. But this is where the BMW is superior. It just seems to have slightly better traction out of the hairpin. But Mortara is closer to him than he's been for many, many laps. What can Eduardo Mortara do to try and muscle his way back past Timo Glock? So P7 for Timo Glock, P8 for Eduardo Mortara. And Edo, in fairness, has found some pace from somewhere.
I think the great issue that Edo's having at the moment...
You can use DRS 3 laps more than Glock.
So he's got 3 laps worth of DRS more than Timo Glock. That's going to be an advantage, but he needs to use it now.
The issue that Mortara seems to be having as Felix Rosenqvist retires from the race is that when they're going through places like the hairpin, Glock is actually... He's standing on the braking zone almost, and kind of pushing Mortara backwards and not allowing the Audi man to actually make the overtake.
You have only 4 laps DRS, 4 laps DRS left.
And of course, whilst those two fight, what that does mean... Farfus is getting up the road.
Same than you.
Right, Edo Mortara once again on Timo Glock now. What can he do different this time as they head into the Parabolica than he did last time? Because presumably Timo does use his DRS. Now, on this occasion, Edo doesn't.
Copy.
So that means that a little bit of a pace advantage for Augusto Farfus, but it all closes up under braking into the hairpin. But again, Timo Glock is just superior out.
DRS for only 3 more laps.
The problem is, if I don't use it, you will get me.
Well, you can hear what Edo says there. The problem is, if I don't use it.
The interesting thing now with this race...
Copy.
In fairness, that was Rocky saying if I don't use the DRS, he's going to get me. Referring, of course, to Augusto Farfus. This in replay then was Timo Glock and Eduardo Mortara. Look at the sparks coming off the Timo Glock car there.
The interesting thing now in this race, at this stage of the race, Dave, is Molina has shot off into the lead. 10 laps in, he's got a 3.1 second lead over Wittmann. Wittmann, on the other hand, he's actually, his pace is not as good as it once was. And this Gaga, this long train of cars, actually start to at Marco. And they're all technically within DRS range of each other, because basically Marco Wittmann is kind of is the beginning of the train and holding it all together.
And of course, the only one who doesn't have that DRS is Marco Wittmann. Now, DRS can be used, as we've seen with the Timo Glock Eduardo Mortara battle. It can be used not only to try and overtake, but it can be used in defence as well. And
Copy, rear dropping more.
I think this is where Mortara really has a good opportunity now to try and get past Glock for 7th place in this race. He's edging up behind, but it may not be enough as they come up to the hairpin. He's going to the outside.
Oh,
and Glock closes the door, shuts it.
Oh, there's a little touch between Edo and Timo. Edo there was going for the switchback, wasn't he? He was going to dive up the inside, but Edo made his BMW as wide as possible. Sorry, Timo made his BMW as wide as possible and prevented Edo from being able to do that.
And, at the same time as well, Rast is actually just behind the two of them and almost clipped the back of Edo.
Yeah, I think Rast is really pushing it, to be fair. Good. To be fair, it's a good showing from Rennie Rast, isn't it, in P9?
That's kind of what I meant when early on the Glock kind of sits almost on the apex.
Yeah.
And it's actually stopping Mortara get to the inside line and getting a better acceleration as they head towards the Mercedes section.
It's a fair point you make. There is Eduardo Mortara then, who's mired down there in P8 at the moment, being really hampered by Timo Glock, who, to be fair, is doing nothing wrong. He's in his own race, isn't he? He's running in P7.
15 laps to go.
Well, it's all ebbing away from Edo Mortara at the moment. We've got 20.5 minutes or thereabouts of the race left to run. But there is the start of this gaggle of cars, as you said. Marco Wittmann, who's really on at the start of that, as Hans-Jürgen Abt there. I wonder whether a strategy move here might be for Edo to let Rennie Rast past, for Rennie to have a real go at Glock and Farfus, so that Edo could just side through the pack. But unfortunately, Rennie is having to focus on defending against Maxime Martin at the moment.
It's a risky move. But
you've got to play a risk at this point, Lee, haven't you?
But if Mortara can't get past Glock, then it means nothing, because that's a championship loser. The race as it stands at the moment is a championship loser from Edo Mortara.
And Rast, unfortunately, is not going to be able to help too much at the moment, because, as I say, he's having to make that Audi as wide as possible.
Blomqvist, Farfus and you will have only one more lap DRS. All 3 cars, 1 more lap.
And here's what's coming now, Dave, is we're going to start seeing some red kind of names coming up on the screen.
As the DRS usage is nullified. We've only had one retirement, that from Felix Rosenquist. We're back on board with Eduardo Mortara now, who's continually chasing down these 2 BMWs ahead. What surprises me a little bit here, from a strategic point of view, is that Mike Rockefeller hasn't backed them up more.
I mean, it's in a difficult situation because you also don't want to give too much of an impetus for Farfus to actually go through as well. And, you know, Rocky doesn't want to. He doesn't want to blow his own position in this race. But Mortara also needs to be able to push. If you were in a position where Rocky was backing the field up and Mortara was slicing through as a result, that's one thing. But it's a kind of a status quo because Mortara isn't actually moving forward.
No, but of course, if he was, you know, if that gave him almost an artificial benefit, it's got to be worth trying.
It's trying, and I I'm not entirely sure is this working out. The strategy here is working out just as Audi planned.
We've only got 18 minutes of the race left.
And already Bruno Spengler, 12th place in the number 7 BMW. He's out of DRS. We're going to start seeing, as I mentioned, the red names coming up on screen a lot more often now. What's actually also kind of interesting in this race is the pack from Wittmann down is so tight. No one's moving anywhere. I mean, from Wittmann in 2nd place right down to Jamie Green in 15th place, the gap is only 8.4 seconds. They're all lying astern each way through.
We're on board with Eduardo Mortara then, who's once again closer to Timo Glock than he has been for a couple of laps, but still not close enough. Up the road, Miguel Molina, he's checked out. He's got a 3.6 second margin at the front. Marco Wittmann comfortable in P2, who's leading that double BMW benefit of Antonio Felix da Costa and Tom Blomqvist, which is really protecting Marco Wittmann. Not that any protection is needed, as Eduardo Mortara just taking a look at Timo Glock then. And look, Blomqvist out, Farfus out of DRS now. Now, where this could be interesting is that Glock and Farfus going to start battle to... Glock and Farfus going to start to battle again. And there you can see, look, Timo Glock already getting past Augusto Farfus, because Glock does still have... well, he tried it. It didn't work, and Eduardo Mortara, he's right alongside him, and he's done enough now. Glock runs out wide. Glock comes back, but Eduardo Mortara, using that DRS, has gone through.
Very, very clever driving here from Edo Mortara. Initially looked as if Glock was going to make a move on Farfus, who's now out of DRS. Couldn't quite put it off, put Glock in incorrect position, as it were, coming into the hairpin. Mortara saw the door open, slid his Audi machine right in and made the position.
And that was all as a result of the fact that Farfus is out of DRS now. So Eduardo Mortara, here you can see, came from a long way back, dived up the inside. It was a bold and ambitious move, but it was one that really, really worked. And because Glock was battling with Farfus, that was a real strategic BMW error, really.
I wonder if Mortara even realised that was happening ahead of him. He probably saw Glock slowing down, but didn't realise that Farfus was backing Glock up to such a huge degree into the hairpin.
Well, Mortara really played into that, didn't he, and took advantage of that, and Hans-Jürgen Abt applauds it. So, right, are we back to game on now? Mortara still got some DRS. Augusto Farfus does not have any DRS. So, around the Parabolica. No DRS for Augusto Farfus. Mortara has got DRS. He's got to do him now.
This is key for Mortara, not just his race, his championship, and he's going to the outside line. I think he's nailed him already. He has him going into the hairpin, and the man just ahead of Mortara.
Mike Rockenfeller.
It's a fellow Audi, I do
driving
believe.
an Audi. Right, so DRS out of the hairpin for Eduardo Mortara, as he will now hunt down Mike Rockenfeller, who should not prove to be too resistant. So what would be really handy is if Mike Rockenfeller, I mean, the sooner Eduardo Mortara can do it.
But there's another option here as well, with Rocky just ahead. Rocky's in 5th place, Blomqvist in 4th. Blomqvist, no DRS left. There's also the opportunity for Rocky to dispose of Blomqvist, shall we say, from 4th position, but maybe force it where he can hold the door open for Mortara to go through as well. It's tricky teamwork. You've seen it, but it's a ping-pong play, shall we say. But it'd be interesting to see if Rocky, or alternatively, get ahead of Blomqvist and then make sure that Blomqvist is held back somewhat.
That was Edo's determined move to get past Augusto Farfus, and he did it, and he did it really, really well. So it's game back on again now. Well, we did say that there's still enough time in this race, and Edo Mortara getting ever closer to Mike Rockenfeller. Now, do bear in mind that Tom Blomqvist,
no DRS.
There you can see the championship prediction as it is at the moment means that we will go to the race tomorrow, because 24 points is not enough for Marco Wittmann. Wittmann, Mortara, Green, and Mike Rockenfeller. Oh, is he going to dive up the inside of Tom Blomqvist? Yes, he does.
He has. Now, will he? Oh, didn't quite make it, but as you just saw there, as they were going through the hairpin, he almost left the door open for Mortara to slip through both of them as well.
Done it. He's passed Rocky, as we would expect, and there was a little acknowledgement from Eduardo Mortara. So now Tom Blomqvist, without DRS, is at the prey, if you like, of Eduardo Mortara, who's coming back into this now. It's going to set it up beautifully for tomorrow's
if possible,
race.
Try to go through with Edo without using DRS. You save your DRS and try to pass with Edo.
So there we are. Follow Edo through if you can. And this is Mike Rockenfeller then, and Blomqvist side by side. Eduardo Mortara then with the DRS, and Mike Rockenfeller just making way for him there as he chases down Tom Blomqvist. So, this is fascinating stuff, how it is all playing out.
10 laps to go.
Just keep an eye on the timing screen with regards to Marco Wittmann's time, which is increasing now. It's he's getting a bit quicker now as he's chasing down Molina, but he's still 3.5 seconds. So Mortara all over the back of Tom Blomqvist, who is out of DRS. Mortara still has some available to him, and he needs to dispose of Tom Blomqvist in the BMW ahead, and that will put him up into P4. The DRS wing goes down. Here comes Eduardo Mortara from P5. Tom Blomqvist to his inside. He's going to do it all over again. Eduardo Mortara then. Tom Blomqvist tries to fight back, but Edo has got the job done and moves himself up into P4. Game on once again.
And now it kind of levels out a little bit, Dave, because Mortara, he's got the Costa ahead of him.
Watch out for Rocky.
He's got Wittmann ahead of him, both of them who still have DRS, and to be fair, who've not really been pushed so far in this race to actually have to use their DRS.
Here in replay then, Eduardo Mortara with superior pace, courtesy of DRS around Parabolica.
Da Costa
heading into the hairpin. And there, the disappointment in the BMW garages. So, championship at the moment is not going to be taken in this race. We are going to go to the race tomorrow. Absolutely brilliant as the as the story continues. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara, who is now P4 in front of the main grandstand here. He's about to cross the timing beam and chase down Antonio Felix da Costa.
Now Mortara needs to push, really push. You know, forget about tyre usage, forget about...
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you entirely, Lee, because having got himself into this position now, what he doesn't want to do is go and bin it.
True, very true. But I suppose it also depends. Do Audi see a big enough advantage in chasing after the Costa? In chasing after the Costa for that third position and the extra 3 points that will gain.
Here comes Mike Rockenfeller on Tom Blomqvist then. And the championship prediction on screen, it's going to be merely 20 points between Marco Wittmann and Eduardo Mortara. So Marco Wittmann at the moment in P2 is not going to be able to do enough with Eduardo Mortara in P4.
But crucially, Dave, he does extend the gap to Mortara by an additional 6 points.
Okay, yes, I accept that, but it's a completely different race tomorrow, isn't it? It's a longer race with the pit stop.
Meanwhile,
repeat, please.
So tomorrow, then, it would need Wittmann to win, of course, and well, Wittmann is P2 at the moment. He's not encroaching on Molina, is he? So what we don't want is for Mortara to make a huge mistake now, and that's why I'm saying in terms of his strategic decision for the remaining 10 minutes of this race.
You're 2 tenths faster than the car in front of you. You're reducing the gap.
Well, there you are. That engineer tells us all he's reducing the gap, but...
And took 4 tenths out of Wittmann in that lap as well.
Okay.
I mean, Wittmann and da Costa's pace is not... They're not dropping tons of time. I think they're actually comfortable with their pace at the moment, and maybe they would up that pace should Mortara get close enough to actually worry them a little bit. They all have DRS available, so this race is still... It's very much on, but it's not maybe neck and neck at this particular moment in time.
What it does mean is that we will go into the race tomorrow, which, as I've said, is a completely different, to use, paraphrase one of Lee's favourites. It's a completely different kettle of fish as Rennie Rast and Tom Blomqvist battle together there. Rast up the inside of Blomqvist now. Rast, supremely experienced racer, of course. In for Matthias Ekström with the DRS wing down. Great shot that as we tracked Rennie Rast through into the next turn. Still battling together behind the BMWs of Augusto Farfus and Timo Glock. Best of the Mercedes in the points now. Paul di Resta, P10.
Barely even mentioned them, Dave.
I know. So in replay then, this is Rennie Rast and Tom Blomqvist.
With DRS.
Of course. Rennie just knows where to put that car, doesn't he? Countless times he's been around this Hockenheim circuit, but so too was Tom Blomqvist, to be fair. And Augusto Farfus and Timo Glock continuing their inter-BMW battle going on there.
They know each other so well.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost intimate, isn't it? So Molina then 3.2 seconds to the good on Marco Wittmann. And there you can see Marco Wittmann. He has his wingman Antonio Felix da Costa before. It is Eduardo Mortara who is, currently 2 seconds behind.
It's taking tenths off here and there.
Okay.
It's maybe not enough to actually close in the way he would need before the end of this race. There's only 7 minutes left plus 1 lap in this race, so he's not going to maybe claim the 2 seconds, but he will put pressure on da Costa definitely later on if it keeps edging down at this rate.
So we saw Vitoris then into the pit lane, which was not altogether expected. No mandatory pit stops in this shorter of the 2 DTM races across the DTM weekends now. And it's not looking good for Mercedes-Benz. P18 is Maximilian Gertz, then Lucas Auer, Gary Paffett, Robert Wickens, Daniel Juncadella, Christian Vitoris, now it's Felix Rosenquist. Similarity between them all Mercedes drivers. Right, Edo Mortara then, P4, around the banking section of the third to last turn. Heading towards Südkurve now, the series of 2 turns that brings you back onto the start-finish straight here at Hockenheim. And there is Eduardo Mortara, who, in the start of the final third of this race, everything changed. And Eduardo Mortara tomorrow is going to have to win the race. And Wittmann, all he has to do really is P7. But, you know, there are all sorts of connotations tomorrow.
Saying that.
Miguel, 6 laps to go, 6 laps to go, 3 seconds to Wittmann.
In saying that, Dave, Mortara is just taking 4 tenths out of da Costa in 3rd place and another 5 tenths out of Wittmann ahead in 2nd. It's getting closer bit by bit. Da Costa 1 second behind Wittmann in 2nd and 3rd place, and then Mortara only 1.6 behind them as well.
Factor this in, Lee. We've seen over the course of DTM weekends how you look at the pace and you look at who's dominant on the Saturday. It's often not the case on the Sunday.
No, it's definitely not, as the longer race strategy plays out. And
it's also in qualifying, you know. Well, so as we've been saying, the championship prediction, the way it sits, and the calculations, as Paul di Resta having a real go at Augusto Farfus there, and that's the battle that's going on for P9. And both of them are out of DRS because the numbers in the rear quarter lights are red now. That means that they are out of DRS. So Paul di Resta and Augusto Farfus fighting there with no benefit of that rear wing deployment. The final stages of the race. We're into the final 5 minutes. So, yeah, even into qualifying. And the way the points are at the moment, as I mentioned, it would need Edo to win the race tomorrow, Marco to finish 7th or worse.
At this stage, that is a tall order.
Well, we would say so on today's form.
But that's not that. But that's assuming that the race finishes as it does, and we've seen now Edo's taken another half a second out of da Costa, and he's 7 tenths quicker than Wittmann on that last lap alone.
But what will be going through the Abt Sportsline minds at the moment is, how hard do you fight da Costa? At the moment, by banking the points of where Edo is currently, the championship goes to tomorrow. If he fights too hard with Antonio Felix da Costa, who, let's be truthful about it, is, you know, they've got a bit of history. Remember Spielberg? You know, it's not worth binning it.
No, da Costa has plenty. Da Costa has plenty.
So Antonio Felix da Costa has got plenty of DRS available to him.
But how are their tyres?
Well, yes, how are their tyres? But
da Costa has 3 more until the end. He can run until the end.
I would have said Edo has pushed his more, truthfully. Antonio Felix da Costa has been in a more comfortable position for the entire race, hasn't he? There's Hans-Jürgen Abt then. Just look at the menacing eyes and the tension there as he's trying to play this all out because, and I really don't think they can allow him, Eduardo Mortara, to fight too much with Antonio Felix da Costa because that could all end in tears. I might be wrong.
The other issue as well is Mortara's pushed his tyres very, very, very
Did say
tough.
that, yep.
And you know what? As I noted earlier on, that once Mortara gets close to the BMWs, that they'll probably up their pace. Voila, a 1 minute 35.3 from Wittmann, a 1 minute 35.2 from da Costa, 1 minute 35.2 from Mortara. Just as Mortara gets close in, the pace quickens from the BMWs ahead.
The other thing to consider here is the clock.
After this lap, you can use DRS every time.
We have only just under 3 minutes of the race left to run. There's Eduardo Mortara then. Oh, he locks up the rear wheels.
And a personal best in that first sector for Mortara. You know, I don't think he's heeding your advice. I think he's absolutely going for it. That throttle, it's foot to the floor. I think he's actually put super glue under that throttle, Dave.
Now, Wittmann, da Costa and Mortara. Wittmann is the slowest of these three.
And he has actually been for a lot of laps in a row now, and it's just holding good enough pace to make sure a comfortable gap stays to da Costa. But da Costa's actually close to less than a second as Farfus, and I believe
that's
DiResta.
Jamie Green taking great advantage of that, saying thank you very much, I'm coming in here.
And Jamie Green, who still has DRS available, that takes him into 10th place and a points playing position. Of course, he's now long out of the championship battle.
Not out of it though is this man's, forgive me interrupting you, Eduardo Mortara around the Sud curve, and now he's got the Antonio Felix da Costa BMW within his target sights.
From now on, you can use DRS until the end.
Right, he's got DRS all the way through to the end, but we think so too as Antonio Felix da Costa. There is Marco Wittmann, but there is our race leader, Miguel Molina, who's also losing time now because the margin is down to just 2.5 seconds. Big lock up from Edo Mortara as he chases that Antonio Felix da Costa BMW lead.
Mortara took half a second out of da Costa and Wittmann in that last lap. He's really pushing very, very, very hard for these extra points that could be so pivotal in the championship battle tomorrow. But he's closing in on the rear da Costa and switches to the inside. Does he go for the hairpin? I think he's going for it. He outbrakes himself, but he keeps the inside line. Edo Mortara takes third place from Antonio Felix da Costa and up to the podium positions. Now just Wittmann ahead.
Look at Dieter Gas. Look at Dieter Gas on the pit wall as he punched some piece of component on the wall there. So Edo Mortara ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa. Now he's chasing down his championship challenger, Marco Wittmann. Marco Wittmann is still in the pound seats. We've got 2 more laps left to run. Look at that. He so nearly went into the back of Wittmann. But in fairness to Antonio Felix da Costa, he was fair, wasn't he? Look at Hans-Jürgen Abt.
And you know what? You see in the facial expression there the release of tension. He's been holding that seating position now for the entirety of the race.
I'll tell you what, Lee, I am so already looking forward to tomorrow's race, and we haven't finished this one yet.
There's still time on the clock. Mortara's actually crossed the line, the start-finish line, with only 8 seconds left on the clock, so there's still more to come in this race.
Yes, 2 more laps. Eduardo Mortara now we're on board with as he chases down the championship leader. It's P2 in the race for Marco Wittmann, but P1 in the championship. It's P3 in the race, but P2 in the championship at the moment for Eduardo Mortara.
1 more lap, this one and 1 more. To go, it's you, Wittmann, Mortara.
Only drawback there for Mortara in that last lap is he actually lost a bit of time himself in the actual move to overtake da Costa, and it's allowed Wittmann just a bit of a gap to pull ahead.
But the benefit he's gained from being ahead is far, far greater, isn't it? So there is the championship prediction. 194 will play 177 points. If it stays this way when we go into the longer race tomorrow, Wittmann has certainly upped the ante now, hasn't he? 135.708 last lap round, whereas Eduardo Mortara 135.681. There is Mortara, who throwing absolutely everything at it as he chases down that BMW of Marco Wittmann that's running in P2. So, from a race that was looking like the championship could be all over, it has all changed, and that is what we love about DTM, because it can so change in just moments. Hope you've recovered now. Lee alongside me. So Mortara.
Lap.
From a
last lap.
From a race that 20 minutes ago we'd handed effectively handed the championship to Marco Wittmann. What a fantastic recovery from Edo Mortara. He got aggressive when he needed to. He just needed to break the Glock Varfa ceiling to actually be able to really make his mark on this race.
Well, he's done that, and we're on the final lap now. So around Parabolica, Marco Wittmann and Eduardo Mortara both have DRS available, so Edo can use it to attack, but of course Marco can use it to defend as well. As Hans-Jürgen Abt then, he will go into the race tomorrow knowing that it is still well within chances for Eduardo Mortara as he closes up to Marco Wittmann through the hairpin, but doesn't close enough because we've only got the remainder of this lap for to not only get on terms with Marco Wittmann, he's got to try and find a way past as well. But look at the determination. It's gone from anxiety and nervousness to absolute determination on the face of Eduardo Mortara and in those eyes as he chases down Marco Wittmann. So if Mortara were to finish the race second tomorrow, Wittmann would have to be 9th. If Mortara were to win the race, Wittmann needs to be 5th.
5th or 6th, I believe. The gap would...
Here's the checkered flag. Here's Molina. He's going to take the race win. Marco Wittmann is going to take P2, but it's a phenomenal drive from Edo Mortara to take P3.
And then they cannot say he's the only one to deserve this championship.
Oh, that's fighting talk.
Please say fuel and take pickups. Take pickups.
Well, as you say, from sort of 21 minutes ago, we thought it was very nearly all over, didn't we? But now it's going to go to the final race of the 2016 season.
What's interesting in that race, in the middle of that race, Wittmann just started to lose a bit of pace. And if anything, it actually backed up. Remember, I mentioned it backed up the whole field behind him.
Well, Hans-Jürgen Abt must be utterly delighted with what his driver has delivered. Let's hear from him now. He's with Verena.
I think Hans-Jürgen Abt needs to be pinched. You seem almost in utter state of shock. What an amazing race. I mean, that Edo really did recover that well. And then he managed from P8 to P3. What do you have to say?
It was a really great result. He saved a lot of DRS, but in the end he can use it and overtake the BMWs, and it was a great job from him. He stayed cool and take the way out, and we were happy because we're still in the race for the championship and everything is good.
Oh, you certainly are. Only 17 points behind Marco, so anything is possible tomorrow. Do you have a good feeling for that?
I think now I have a good feeling because Edo is now comfortable. I think he liked the track. We had a lot of problems in the training and he was unlucky a little bit in qualifying, but now I think for tomorrow he will fight back for sure.
I'm sure. All right, thank you so much. Hans-Jürgen Abt, back to you.
Do you know, I think Hans-Jürgen Abt is talking a lot of sense there. That all of a sudden, Edo, who didn't have his mojo after qualifying because it didn't go his way, did it? Whereas now he will go overnight thinking, do you know what? This is within us.
And it started this morning, Dave, because that was when Edo had the issue in free practice 2 with a stuck throttle, and he lost a huge chunk of the practice session that they'd normally use for qualifying, and then qualifying didn't quite work. But it's actually come together for him in this race and resulted in a podium.
So Molina takes the win from Wittmann and Mortara. Then it was Antonio Felix da Costa, Mike Rockefeller, Rennie Rast, then Timo Glock, Jamie Green, Tom Blomqvist, and Paul de Resta rounding out the points haul. Paul de Resta, the best of the Mercedes-Benz drivers. Sadly, only P10. So some work for the Mercedes engineers to do overnight, that's for sure, to try and find something to bring into the race tomorrow. Cars making their way to Parc Fermé then, and of course we'll see the 1, 2, 3 parked up and then the podium to come. And the championship is going to go all the way to the final race of the 2016 season, which, to be truthful, as we see the 2 championship contenders there, just ahead of Molina bringing his car to park behind the P1 spots.
Molina will be very, very happy with that performance today. That he wouldn't see him much because we were watching the battle with Wittmann and Mortara so intensely, but brilliant drive from Miguel Molina. Pick up full points today. Very, very good win.
So, drivers being weighed then. Molina is happy and is congratulated. Now, Edo Mortara then has, you know, banked points that he didn't think he was going to bank. And this championship for us, that was nice to see the camaraderie between himself and Marco Wittmann there. Marco must be just a little shaken, I think, that, you know, over the final third of that race, out of nowhere, Edo Mortara seemed to salvage something.
It says an awful lot about the need as well to have your teammates or your manufacturer mates around you, because it was that pass he made on Blomqvist, and it was the pass he made on Da Costa that allowed Wittmann to go from 4th into 2nd place in the championship standings.
Look at this championship now. 194 points for Marco Wittmann, 177 for Eduardo Mortara. Oh, roll on tomorrow, that's what I say.
And Jamie Green fell out of the championship hunt in this race, only finished 8th in the end, took 4 points. It puts him 53 behind Wittmann, which is far too much to take his fight into.
It would have needed DNFs, wouldn't it, from Mortara and Wittmann, and a race win, I would have thought, for Jamie Green to be back in contention, if you like. But there we can see Molina celebrating.
I think, to be fair to Green, I think he's been talking all weekend that it's going to be an immensely tough job to turn it around, and 37 points behind coming into this race. The chances of it happening were so slim, and our attention has been on Mortara and Wittmann because that was really where the battle was.
Yeah, quite right.
And still is.
Yes.
Molina celebrating as he got out of his Audi machine, and as I said, wonderful drive. Very, very, very good job. Fantastic start.
It was. It was a fantastic start, you're right. Well, the scene is set now. Of course, to factor into tomorrow is the fact that a lot more strategy can come into play, because we have the mandatory pit stops, which, whatever anyone may say, does offer the opportunity for the teams to have an influence in terms of the strategy they use, as we see the drivers heading up towards the podium. And it is now very much game on for the race tomorrow. Miguel Molina, big smile. Walter Mertes there to his left-hand side, and takes on some water. To be fair, looks as cool as a cucumber, doesn't he?
He does. He's just driven a very, very hard,
yes.
somewhat lonely race, and some nice proper trophies they handed here for DTM and Hockenheim, I think.
Yes, I would agree with that. So the race winner, Miguel Molina, is with Verena.
And he's a very happy man. Congratulations, Miguel. You did a flawless, fantastic race. And of course, you were also a big help to Edo. So how does it feel?
Yeah, actually, it was a good race. I think the key was in the start. I did really first, especially in the start, was really good. And the first lap also, I could manage to stay behind, in front of Da Costa. So yeah, that was the key. I mean, we had a good car. I was managing the tires, and actually at the end I could. It was not easy, but it was a calm race.
All right, well, enjoy the moment. Congratulations, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. It was a calm race, he says. Anything but calm for this man, who takes P3, as we see the top three in Super Slow-Mo. Eduardo Mortara has driven himself back into the championship chase by taking that P3 position. Marco Wittmann, P2. He is still the championship leader with a reasonable margin. And Marco Wittmann is with Verena right now.
So Marco, it was a tough race. You're still leading the championship. That is good. You're P2. You did a fantastic job. But Edo actually did manage to catch up. So at the moment, what is going through your mind? I mean, I guess, especially looking at tomorrow, it's going to be a tough battle.
I think he not catched up. He lost 3 points. So overall, it was a good result for us. I mean, he had for sure a good race coming from 8 to the podium. So yeah, he did a good job. But overall, we gained 3 points. So I'm in a better position. I feel good. We had a good pace today, especially in qualifying, and yeah, it will be interesting to see tomorrow.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you very much, Marco. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. Well, Marco then still full of confidence, isn't he? As he says, you know, he still has the advantage. He still has the points advantage. But a lot more to be played out tomorrow as we look at some of the highlights here, and that battle held Eduardo Mortara up. Well, I'm lying. It didn't hold him up because it was a long while before he could get into that battle with the two BMWs of Augusto Farfus and Timo Glock. If he'd been able to find the pace to get past those two much earlier in the race, it could have all been very different come the end, couldn't it?
Yeah, but his pace earlier on, just simply, it wasn't enough to really climb up the order. He actually gained several tenths of a second a lap later on in the race, but in those early sessions, in early laps, it just did not seem to have the killer pace to really make any kind of headway on Farfus and Glock ahead.
Well, once he did get past that BMW battle, he made short work of Tom Blomqvist, as you can see, and just look at the determination that was almost buoyed on by the determination in the garages as well. And this was the move on Antonio Felix da Costa, and that was the move that really was supreme. Then the checkered flag then for the race winner, Molina, and Mortara then just bows his head because he knows he's done as much as he can possibly do, and will take it all the way to the race tomorrow, and making his way up to the podium right now. You can almost see the relief, Lee, because, you know, at points in the race it was all over. It was all over, but he's brought himself back into it once again. Yes, okay, Marco Wittmann has increased his advantage marginally, but as we've both said, longer race tomorrow, much more to be done in the race tomorrow. Who knows what's going to happen? Only time will tell, but for me, I can't wait for that race to come tomorrow. Let's not take anything away from this man, though, who has taken the race win. Miguel Molina wins at Hockenheim. Marco Wittmann takes P2. He, of course, leading the championship. And P2 in the championship going into tomorrow's race takes P3 in the race today. Eduardo Mortara. All smiles up higher on the podium as we're about to hear the anthem for Miguel Molina.
Dann hören wir zur Ehre des Siegers, zu Ehren von Miguel Molina, die spanische Nationalhymne.
So anthem plays out then for Miguel Molina. And as Lee made the point, as we see the CEO of K-Starter 24 make the trophy presentation to Miguel Molina. They are really rather magnificent trophies here. Watch the top, Miguel. We don't want that falling off. P1 for Miguel Molina. Lars Suchka there from ADAC making the team trophy presentation. And Britta Heidemann, the Olympic champion, fencing champion of 2008, makes the trophy presentation to Marco Wittmann. And Klaus Schwenninger, the head of operations, then makes the trophy presentation to Eduardo Mortara, who's still in the fight, and he knows it. It's the biggest smile we've seen from Eduardo Mortara today. That's no question about that. So drivers all get together. And Walter Mertes then makes the presentation to representative from Moscow there, the Promoter of the Year trophy, and that's held with much pride, and that presentation made by Walter Mertes from the ITR, and all smiles on the top of the podium. Just before the champagne is sprayed, and it is in prospect a phenomenal race tomorrow. Cannot wait for that. Well, Mortara wins the race for the champagne, and he gets his cork out before anybody else.
It's going to pull him up for tomorrow.
Of course it is.
If nothing else, after the losing the practice time today and the difficult qualifying, it's really going to give him the boost, the confidence he needs to go head on into the race tomorrow.
Do you know what? It's fantastic camaraderie between himself and Marco Wittmann.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, that really is remarkable, isn't it? You know, they're both chasing in this championship, but they're very, very matey off the track.
They're very much the same generation. They raced against each other in Formula 3 throughout the years, and they've been in DTM relative near enough the same amount of time as well.
Yes.
So they're very much of that generation, and it's but you know what? When it comes to in the car tomorrow, gloves are off.
Oh, of course, no question about that. So we have seen a race that really, really changed over the P8. It was Eduardo Mortara's on the grid. P3, he's with Verena now.
Edo, you really are our hero of the day. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what you managed here on the racetrack, coming all the way to P3 from P8. And you mentioned on the team radio you were tired, but you've got to be so happy and so damn proud.
No, tired I wasn't. I mean, I could have continued 10 more laps. Actually, I would have liked. I think there was like 1/10 missing for the last laps in order to get into the DRS zone of Marco. I think that could have been pretty cool for the fans. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I had a pretty good race. I played strategic. I could see that the cars in front of me were using DRS quite a lot. And at the beginning of the race, so I was like saving it. And then when it was my time, it was, I decided to go.
And you really did. Now, obviously, the key to winning the championship tomorrow is going to be to qualify really, really well. So, do you have a good plan there?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I mean, I take it like day by day. From P8 to P3, I think it's already like a great achievement. It could have been even better, though, I think, today. But anyway, I think we'll try to improve our car, for tomorrow. And hopefully, if we can start a little bit more in front with the longer race, who knows?
Do you think you're going to have a good night's rest tonight?
I will. I think that Marco will probably less. But I mean, to be honest with you, right now I've got nothing to lose anymore. I can only win. And the way you see me race today, you're gonna see me race tomorrow again. And till I have no mathematical chances anymore to win this championship, I will fight. I will fight like hell.
Well, best of luck for tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting battle, that is for sure. So hoping to see you tomorrow. Thank you to Dave and Lee. And see you in Hockenheim for the big final tomorrow. And here are the highlights of the day. Enjoy.